guys, how you doing? It's Cliffe here with another episode of Martin Reviews, and in this episode we are looking at a little pedal from Xotic Effects. It's this black one here. It's called the SL Drive, and Xotic claim it's a distortion pedal, but to me it sounds more like an overdrive. It's very amp-like. You heard it on the beginning. If I switch, I'll talk about it first. Okay, so we've got three knobs. We have a big knob here for tone, a big knob here for gain, and a little knob for volume. Now, a lot of people have said they would prefer the volume knob to be big and the tone to be small, but on a pedal this size, I understand why Xotic have done this, because the last thing you want to do is knock your volume knob with your feet. If your tone changes slightly, you can probably get away with it, but if your volume drops or increases massively, then it could cause you problems when you step on the pedal. So having a small volume knob that you can't adjust easily with your feet makes sense to me. Now, it'll run on battery or on 9 volts, possibly even 9 to 18 volts, I'm not sure. I'm running at 9 volts on a pedal train Volto power supply. It's true bypass, so if your power supply fails, unlikely on a battery powered one, but certainly on a plugged in one, if someone turns off the mains, which I have known happen, then turn it off and your signal will pass through it anyway. As I say, it'll run off a battery. Current draw is really low, it's about 6-7 milliamps, something like that, so it'll last for ages on a battery and even longer on something like the Volto. So, what does it sound like? Obviously you heard it at the start. At the moment I've got it set with the drive at about 11 o'clock, the tone at about 11 o'clock, and the volume just past midday. So, off. Turned on, guitar all the way up. So I've chosen this setting because it's the one that sounds most amp-like to me. I don't want tons and tons of drive. My reason for that is because I have an EP booster before it that will push it harder if I want it to. The tone is again just something that sounds natural. It's always a case of finding that what pleases your ears, really. Now there are 4 mini switches inside, which if you read the manual it says it. You can set it to emulate a super lead with high cut, a super bass, and something else. It's another super lead mod, and I use the second setting, which is super lead with high and mid cut, I think, or something along those lines. I experimented when I first got the pedal. I haven't touched it since because it sounds like I want it to do. So obviously volume, when you're setting your volume, you want it to be pretty much unity level. So if I've got it off, there's not a huge amount of difference in overall volume between the two settings, which is good. Drive, yeah, let's look at the drive settings. So obviously if I turn it all the way down, you're going to get something that sounds very similar to the pedal being off. And turn it to 9 o'clock. 12 o'clock. it's kind of versatile for lead and rhythm at that setting, so it's pretty close to where I have it. Turn it to 3 o'clock, we're starting to get more. But it's nothing harsh, there's nothing hard clipping, and this is why I disagree with Xotic calling this a distortion pedal, because distortion pedals are all about hard clipping, and Overdrive is about soft clipping, as I understand it. And this, even as I say, with the gain up at 3 o'clock, it still sounds amp-like, it's still tubular, which is what it's designed to sound like a Marshall Super Lead. So if I roll back the guitar volume, then it will clean up, which distortion pedals don't do very often, or at least not well. I mean, that's a nice kind of bluesy, not really any kind of crazy going on at all kind of sound. And then if I turn the drive all the way up, still at no point is going into what I would call classic distortion territory. If I go to the bridge humbucker on its own and turn the tone all the way up, it's kind of 80s heavy rock kind of sound, yeah, which is a slightly pushed JCM 800 or something, yeah. So it's not a distortion pedal, it's an overdrive pedal, and I love it for that. Not a big fan of distortion pedals. I have one, I think, at the moment, if you don't count this as one. So, and that is not on my pedal board. So it's a drive. Now let's look at what the tone control does. As I say, I've got it just below 12 o'clock. I've turned the drive back down to 12. And it's still on the bridge pickup. If I turn the tone right down, obviously it's going to get mellow. Also gets a little bit quieter. Interesting, but not really surprising because of the way your ears hear high frequencies. 9 o'clock. Much brighter, much clearer, a bit louder. Just a reminder that my tone with it off is sort of reasonably bright, but not crazy bright, clean tone. Okay. Tone at 9 o'clock, getting a lot more hiss. Sorry, 3 o'clock. Kinda nasty sounding, let's be honest. Unless you've got a really dark amp. If you've got something like a Boogie dual rectifier that is crazy amounts of low end, then pushing it with something like this may be good. But but for a bright sounding Marshall-y, I'm using an Egnator tweaker, no, it's not so good. And if we turn it all the way up, we've got kind of slightly, what am I going to say, Bumblebee in Tin Can kind of sound. But that said, if I put it then on the neck pickup, it brightens up the neck pickup nicely. Neck pickup again at 12. And all the way down. Can't get over how much the volume drops when you turn the tone all the way down. They probably don't think anyone's going to use it as that, and to be honest, I don't think anyone's going to use it with the tone down there either. Sort of round about 10, 11 o'clock seems to be the most kind of ideal singing tone for me. So let's go back to that setting. And at that point, the pedal is making essentially no noise. It's a surprisingly quiet sounding pedal, which is good. Obviously, if I pulled my coil tap, then we're going to get a little bit of noise, because you're always going to get a little bit of noise with single coils. But and it'll roll off nicely, you know, pull the volume back and you get clean kind of. So what can I say about this pedal in summary? It's small, sounds great, quite affordable. Actually, it's reasonably expensive as far as overdrive pedals go if you're used to spending 40 quid or so. I don't know, 500 Hong Kong dollars, 50 US dollars on an overdrive pedal. Then it's more than that. In fact, it's probably double that. But it's sounds great. It's worth it. Really versatile. Just doesn't have that I've got a pedal on sound, which I'm sure anyone who's tried a lot of overdrive pedals will know. And so the other thing that I wanted to just say is, why do I run it with the gain low at 11 o'clock? It's simply because I can push it harder. I have on my little pedal board here, I have an Xotic EP booster. In fact, I have two, but I have one in front of it. This one at this end acts as a solo boost, so that's just louder. But this one pushes the front end of the SL drive nicely. So let's try that. Okay, so this is my sound. Which is kind of more gain than I would need for most things, but the extra boost from the EP boost, okay, it's making a little bit of noise, but it's just giving me a bit more sing. If that's even a word on its own, obviously it's a verb. But it's just making the tone sing a little bit. If I sort of smart gate on to get rid of the noise, then obviously it will improve that as well. So just being able to push the front end is the equivalent of turning up the gain, but it's just gives me that extra bit of versatility. So I've got the lower gain tone, drive it a bit harder, higher gain tone. Saves having a multi-channel amp, because it just seems to sound better with a single channel amp. Really good pedal and a boost. So that's the way I do things. Okay, until next time, I've been Martin Cliffe. I will see you soon.
What makes me tick? What makes me talk? What keeps me running round to what I am devoted? What makes me tick? What makes me talk? What makes me